Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this special Coach's Corner edition of the Dr. Z and J-Dub podcast. Thanks for joining in today via all of our social media channels. And as always, our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. Today, our guest on Coach's Corner is our football coach, Chris Pincince. And Dr. Z, we've known Chris pretty well. He was this is actually our first repeat guest. We had Coach on the regular podcast back during the summertime, and we look forward to talking to him again here on Coach's Corner.
Yeah, this will be a layup for him. He's done a full hour. He's just doing 15 minutes here. So, he's got his hands full. The guys are back on campus, and they're doing, modified workouts. And, when you're a head football coach, you're not just taking care of that. You're taking care, in his case now, about 130 young guys who are going in, 130 different directions on campus. And it's full plate.
It is, and it's great to have at least football back, be able to see the student athletes out there practicing and conditioning. So let's bring Coach Pince out here on Coach's Corner, and again, our first repeat guest. And Coach, it's great to see you. And what is it like? What is it like to? Because last time we talked in the summertime, right? Student athletes, the players weren't back yet. What's it been like to have the players back on campus?
Well, it's great to see them every day. It's certainly good to interact with the kids. That's why you get into this, at this level of sports, is to be around them, academically and socially, and then on the field. So it's been good to see them. It's unique. It's been a different fall, obviously, like everybody knows. But ultimately, the daily interaction, whether it's talking about their classes or their families, or hey, let's get to our workout. For the little bit that we've been able to do that, that's the best part of it, just seeing them every day.
Coach, for those who are tuning in who may not know about your background, give us a brief history of where you're from and how you've gotten to UNH, because this is not your first stint at UNH.
No, I like to call this my third tour of duty here. I was very fortunate to go play football, graduate from Boston University way back in the early 90s. I played for a man by the name of Tony Sperano, who was my offensive coordinator. Coach Sperano then left the Boston University and came down here to be the head coach at the University of New Haven. And Coach Sperano gave me my first opportunity to coach right out of school. About 3 months after playing quarterback for him, I was coaching his wide receivers here at the University of New Haven. And that started my college coaching career, where we've moved all around at different levels. And I was 2 years here coaching the wide receivers for Coach Sperano, then went to Fairfield University right down the road when they had a football program, where I became the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach there for 2 seasons. Very fortunate in 1999 to be able to come back here to New Haven to be the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for Darren Rizzi, who now is the special teams coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. I coached with Coach Rizzi here for 3 years before moving on a little bit. And I went to Brown University for a year and coached the quarterbacks up in my home state of Rhode Island. I went down to a small Division III program, Ursinus College, outside of Philadelphia. And then was very, very lucky. Me and my family were able to come back to New England, where we grew up, where my family is from. I spent 4 years at the College of the Holy Cross running the special teams and the offense there. I went 3 seasons back with Darren Rizzi at the University of Rhode Island. We packed up the family and moved down south for 3 seasons down in North Carolina. We called plays and run the offense at Elon University before my last stop here in February 2014, where I was very, very lucky to be able to bring my wife and 3 children back up to Connecticut, where I was named the head coach here at the University of New Haven. So seven stops along the way, 3 tours of duty here. But ultimately, me, my wife, my children kind of called the University of New Haven home, because I got married here back in 1999. I had my first child here in 2000. And now, I have a lot of roots here now that I'm going on 12 years of coaching at the University of New Haven.
Coach, I've read your bio. You and I've sat in my office and chatted about those different stops. But when you do it all in order like that, that's a mouthful. And I know in our business and football coaching in particular, that's not unusual. What's unusual is you've woven your way through UNH multiple times. And I think that says a lot about the program here and what you're building here.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky to be able to face to jump right into coaching after playing. Coach Brano gave me the chance, and I didn't have any idea what the heck I was doing when I was coaching those wide receivers 3 months after playing quarterback. But I faked it pretty good, I think. And then I was lucky to be a position coach here, and then a coordinator here, and then very lucky to come back here and be named the head coach. And I think my alma mater doesn't have football anymore. Boston University dropped football in the late 90s. And, this is the place that me and my family call home. And I'm very, very lucky to have kind of grown up in coaching, starting here. And now, 25 plus years into it, I'm still here.
You and I never talked about this, but at a similar age, I had played option quarterback at not at as high a level that you did. And coached a year of high school football and then started coaching at Drake and coached the receivers. So I know what you mean. I barely knew what I was doing. I was pulling drills out of handbooks and video of other coaches. And I had a receiver that was 6 months younger than me that went on to be a medical doctor, so he was smarter than me. When the season was over, I took him out for beer and pizza just to thank him for not embarrassing me on the practice field all year.
My first position room here for Coach Brano back in it was probably my first meeting was February of 1995, a couple months after being a player. My first wide receiver position room had 2 wide receivers that were older than me. Bobby Barnett, who is still a friend of mine, and Tyrone Seabrooks, who's still a friend of mine. And both of those are very, very good football players here for us in the mid-'90s. Tyrone ended up going to NFL for a couple of years, and it was a little unique to say the least, to coach kids that were older than me and kind of be lying to them too that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. J-Dub, you're the point guard here, but I got to jump in again. Yep. I know we have limited time, but for the viewers, I want Coach to talk about one of his, I don't know if it's a passion, it's certainly a hobby, maybe just a way of clearing his mind, but Coach runs a lot. And, he and his daughter we talked about this on the last podcast, did a run, I think, for one of your brothers. See, you don't even know this, all over town. Down on Campbell Ave the other day, you were circling back by the Walgreens. And how far do you go each day? And where do you – I know you've got routes probably of 2, 5, 10 miles around this campus.
Yeah, between the campus and Campbell Avenue and First Avenue and Ella Grassa Boulevard over here in the West Haven, New Haven. And then certainly I take advantage of the First Ave Beach down there. I go between 6 and 10 miles every day. I guess one positive of the pandemic and the lockdown has been that I was able to get myself back into a little bit better shape, than I had been before. And, I got a little extra free time this fall than I normally have. So I'm able to go out there. As soon as we're done here in a little while, I'll probably go tour the beaches a little bit before we go out on the football field this afternoon for practice.
Take a couple of those receivers with you.
Yeah.
Not the lineman.
The lineman won't last very long, I don't think, on Campbell Avenue.
I've seen, J-Dub, and I'll hand this back to you, I've seen some bigger guys on campus, it's like this fall, than I remember last spring. Maybe I just didn't see them for a while. But I was over at the weight room the other day, and we've got some large young men roaming around campus.
I think one thing that we've always prided ourselves on here for decades is being the biggest and the most physical offensive line on the football field at every time. And we've been very lucky to retain a lot of those guys, a lot of 4th and 5th year seniors, about 4 or 5 of them that have been with the program a long time, that have played a lot of football for us, and the incoming class of kids that we brought in here. Part of those 60 to 70 new guys that we brought in, 2 or 3 transfers, and then some freshmen that really add some size here. And this could be a great thing for them to lift and train and get themselves acclimated for a year without having that pressure of playing college football. It might be the best thing in the world for some of these 18-year-old kids that are just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Coach, I'm glad you brought that up, because obviously with no games this fall, tell the viewers what a typical, quote unquote, typical day is like. What are you guys doing in lieu of games?
Well, 3 days a week we're lifting in the weight room, and we've moved our weight room over to the rec center so we can have more space and stay socially distanced. But our 130 guys are lifting 3 times a week, 10 at a time, so we can stay apart right now. But it really is great individual work for them, especially the young kids that maybe never squatted or cleaned the way that they were supposed to, or that our amazing strength staff wants them to. And so the hands-on, one-on-one stuff right now is excellent in the weight room. And then twice a week, we're able to go out on the football field, and we're just conditioning right now. We're getting ourselves back into a little bit of shape. And next week, we're going to start moving into position type of drills and starting to make it look like maybe a little bit more like football. Don't know if we'll ever get there by the end of this fall where it looks completely like football like you see on television. But the individual work, I think, will be outstanding. The attention to detail that our kids can do and learn in the weight room, and then certainly out on the field. We should be well ahead of the game when we're able to put the pads on, whether that's the springtime or whether that's next fall. At least from a mental standpoint and a technical standpoint, we should be well ahead of everything.
You mentioned that the University of New Haven is such a special place for you. You mentioned your third tour of duty. So it's special for you. What makes this place special for the players? What is it that you tell the student athletes, the prospective players, and their families about why they should come play football at the University of New Haven?
Oh, we always stress, it's the people that have been here. It's the people that are here that are going to enhance your experience. And that's the people here in the athletic department, whether it's the support that we get from the administration, the coaches, the number of coaches that are able to surround our players here and be able to take, advantage of that. But it's also the people across the street and the commitment that administration and that support staff has made towards athletics 20, 30 years ago. And certainly now as we move forward. And, buildings are great. The new buildings on campus, the new dorms on campus, but it's the people that really make a university special. And when families send their children here, whether it's the boys or the girls that are coming to play for us or just to be normal students, they want to know that they're going to be taken care of while they're here. They want to know that the people here have their children's best interests in heart. And I think you can honestly look them in the face and say, at a place like the University of New Haven, we do. And we've shown that through the years. The alums that come back to us and encourage the current students, whether it's in a game situation or, a tailgate situation or a career development type of situation where they're coming back talking to our kids, they express what they went through 20, 30 years ago, what they see being built over here on the campus now. And I think that encourages our current students to, put their head down, go to work, and make the most out of the situation, the opportunity that has been put in front of them.
That's a perfect segue to my next question, Coach, and that's that strong relationship between the alums and the current players and the current program. Football, maybe more than any other sport on our campus, has this long, proud history and connection with the former players and the current players. How do you explain that? Why is there such that closeness between the alums and the current players?
I think it's the kind of people that are attracted, first and foremost, to the University of New Haven. Way back 30 years ago and 40 years ago when some of these, alums were playing here, this is a straight blue collar. I'm the first person to go to from my family to go to college type of mentality. They're going to go to work every day. They're not going to complain about a walk to a practice field. They're not going to complain about the lack of this or the lack of that. They're going to put their head down and go to work. And we attracted those people for the last 2 or 3 decades, and we still attract that type of mentality here. So when our current student athletes bond with our alums that are here and they talk to them, they see that a little bit. They see that in their mentality. They see that in their work ethic. And, they appreciate the opportunity that's in front of them. I think sometimes when you and Dr. Z had to deal with this at some of his other stops, and I've had to deal with it at some of my other stops, when you're dealing with student athletes and students in general that sometimes are a little bit entitled or sometimes take advantage or don't understand the opportunity that's in front of them, it's tough on a day-to-day basis. But when you're at a place like New Haven, when you're at a place that, we've surrounded this place with student athletes that really, really want to embrace this opportunity, work hard, and get the most out of it. And I think when the old meet the new and they have that same work ethic and that same blue-collar mentality, I think it makes for a special place.
I think Coach nailed it with that. That's been my experience in this year. It's one of the reasons I really, really like it here. And, the football games I was able to enjoy last fall when our football alums came back, there's a real similarity to the young guys we have on the team now. And we're a school of overcomers, and we're gritty. And I've run into very little entitlement around here, J-Dub.
Yep. Yep. Last question, Coach, and we'll let you go. Why is it so important for the alums to still be involved with the program today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
You know what? For a lot of our older alums, I say old, I don't want to insult them. They're probably my age. So, they look at University of New Haven as a place that if it wasn't for New Haven, they might not have gone to college. Right? They might not have that degree. They might not have developed the work ethic that has taken them through their 30s and their 40s and their 50s. And without their support and without their help and their stories too about overcoming, our current student athletes might not quite understand, the opportunity that's in front of them as well. I think when they talk and our old alums speak of the small weight room or, develop the walk to the practice field that we used to have at a middle school back 25 years ago and walking through the woods and our kids look and say, my God, we got this unbelievable, blue turf at Delacamera Stadium right now. And we got an opportunity to build a workout facility. We got an opportunity to change this campus. But look what the older guys went through. I think when our younger guys hear that story and look what this guy has overcome, look what he is now from a success standpoint. I think our young kids they embrace that, and then they look at it and say, I want to do those same things. And so, I think it's important always for the older guys to come back. I wish we had a football game to do it in person. I wish we had a homecoming event to be able to do it in person. I wish we had a Centennial Ball event where thousands of people could come back in person. But we're stuck in the Zoom world now. We're stuck in the text messaging and the Twitter world, and the communication has still been there. And I think we could fight through this for the next 6 months or a year until we're able to get together again next fall for football games. But those connections, the people that we have here, the old and the new, those are why these kids chose University of New Haven. It's why 30 years ago the other people chose University of New Haven. So we need them to stay together through all of this to keep building here and as we move forward into the future.
Coach Chris Pincince, thanks for joining us here on the Coach's Corner edition of the Dr. Z and J Dub podcast. Great job as always. It's wonderful to see you, and we'll see you around campus real soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Have a good run.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Z. The big old linemen can't really do the runs, but it's up the hill, down the hill. Maybe down the hill they can do the run. Up the hill's a different story, I'm guessing. But Dr. Z, real quick as we wrap up here, I think Coach Pin said all the correct keywords, all the ones that we've said before, right? Whether it's the first opportunities and the second chances and the grinders and no entitlement. It's easy to see how much he cares. And again, if that doesn't convince somebody to come play here and have that connection that he has, I don't know what does.
Right. It's like I said, he nailed it. With all the answers, but those last couple really describe who we are, where we've come from, and the type of young man who wants to come here and play ball. It's tough for me to do a 15-minute segment with a football coach. I know we're doing that with all our coaches, but we didn't even get to X's and O's and the fun stuff. So we'll save that for the next time when he comes back for the third time.
Absolutely. At some point, I'm sure you'll be out there helping him run drills, maybe with the running backs, like you were once upon a time.
I promised him I'd never get in the way, but heck, who knows? We might need a running back coach again or a receiver coach here in the near future. And we could save a little money in the budget if I doubled down. So
that's right. We already got one on staff.
Yeah.
Again, thanks to Coach Pins for joining us here in the special Coach's Corner edition of the Dr. Z and J Dub podcast.